Here we are, David Lee Scales, another day before the recording started for this episode 73 of Noble Rot. Date January 26th, 7th?
8th.
Is it the 8th?
It is the 8th.
Dang, January 28th. And pop quiz, David Lee Scales, is January one of the months with 30 or 31 days?
31.
Is it?
I can look it up while we're talking.
I
But
don't
yes.
think it is because December has 31.
Nope. Saturday is the 31st day.
But doesn't December have 31 days?
Yes, it does.
I thought the knuckle thing was supposed to work, that every other month has start January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. I don't know. Man, I'm back to square one. I'm back to which months have 30 days versus 31 being a great grand mystery that I will never understand.
It'll be easier at this point just to remember which months have 31 rather than trying to figure out some other way to remember it.
I mean, that's it. That's it. I just have to go straight up, rote memory, old school. Well, yeah. Before David Lee anyway pushed record, he informed me that he's stuck still in Palm Springs due the giant ice storm that is gripping a huge portion of the nation. And weather events like this, when a weather event is affecting you, it is, or I'll speak personally, when a weather event is affecting me, it's like in the top three things I'm thinking about that day, right? Like if a big storm is coming or something, if a big storm is here, whatever, it's like real top of mind. But if it's not going to affect me at all, I'll like look at the pictures of snow in New York or snow in people sliding down sidewalks in Dallas, and I see it with my eyes, and somehow it doesn't register in my brain that a weather event is happening to them.
It is part of the privilege of being a Southern Californian.
I guess so. I guess growing up where weather, like a little bit of rain is like a big deal. And then you just don't think about anything else.
I mean, it doesn't, even the worst catastrophic weather events in Southern California don't really affect your life that much. You don't lose electricity, you don't lose power. But I talked to a friend in Rhode Island a couple of days ago. It's like you have to have a backup generator for your house. You have to have all these implements in place to be prepared for maybe 4 or 5 days of just being stuck indoors. So obviously that's grocery shopping, but it's also, what if you lose your internet for that period of time? What if you lose, thankfully, if you lose your refrigerator, it's cold enough to where you can just put your things outside. Yeah, exactly. So there's easy workarounds, but there's also warmth. You want to be concerned about keeping your family warm or old people warm if they live in a house by themselves. So crazy.
Where does Wi-Fi fall on your hierarchy of needs? Like, what would you rather have go out before the Wi-Fi goes out?
I am so embarrassed to admit it is like top priority for me, but I would love a scenario where I lost it or we traveled somewhere where we did not have it. I think that I would quickly get back to my roots and pick up a book and just enjoy quiet time.
So would you rather run out of food and have all the food real sparse? Like you still have whatever's in your cupboard, like, old boxes of mac and cheese and maybe a couple cans of tuna and that stuff for like 4 days, or Wi-Fi go out?
Food reduction.
Heat or Wi-Fi?
Heat.
You would take heat or goodbye heat?
I would take heat and get rid of Wi-Fi, and I would also take functioning plumbing over Wi-Fi.
Okay.
But for the foodstuffs, I would take an 80% reduction in foodstuffs. If we got down to just like the bare bones, grains, a couple of vegetables or fruit, and
some
one
olives,
protein for 4 days, I would take that and keep the Wi-Fi rather than full access to the pantry with no Wi-Fi.
Okay, what about super heat wave summer? Air conditioning or Wi-Fi?
That's a tough one. I'm going to go
And
AC.
we're going to go like, not forever. We're going to go like, all of these are like 4 days here.
If you're talking 4 days in like a humid, hot, sticky
Sweaty
environment, I would go keep the AC, get rid of the Wi-Fi.
Okay, so I'm glad that we were unpacking this a bit. Wi-Fi is not as high as you thought it might have been. I feel you have
Well,
a healthy relationship with Wi-Fi.
it's still an addiction though, because the other things that you're talking about are basic Maslow hierarchy of needs. Like I need the basement stuff, and then the very next thing is Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So
But
base level and then Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi is the crown jewel of the unnecessaries.
absolutely. And I don't want you to think, oh yeah, David, it's because you're into this weather climate catastrophe. You want to be able to communicate with family.
No, you want to
No,
watch
it's not
movies.
that. It's just Netflix. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
watch Netflix and also maintain my work obligations.
Funny, this idea of needs. Was teaching the children the other day, and walked in on the end of Buddy, who teaches with me. His had done a big presentation on Greenland, right? On why Trump, you think it's just crazy, but none of this, nobody does stuff just to be crazy. So really walk the kids through why Greenland is essential, how it's this domino and blah, 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 a long, interesting discussion. And part of what we do at the school is not teach the kids not teach the kids what to think, teach them how to think. So, present the information, and then they had to write short essays on, I think, I don't know, should the U.S. snag Greenland or not? Something basic. And one of the girls said, no, because Greenland doesn't have anything we need. And was her basic premise. And I was like, this dumb kid doesn't listen and just writes what's in her crazy head. So I said to her, hey, we just went through that Greenland has a ton of oil and all these rare earth minerals that we need for computers and smartphones. Like, listen, open your ears. And she looked at me and said, we don't need that. We don't need to drive, and we don't need computers and smartphones. We want them and we like them, but we don't need them. And I was like, oh, touche. You wise little one. You are right.
So this is an instance where you read her headline but did not read her essay.
Absolutely. I mean, she just said it. Because she didn't unpack it. So she said, she had just written, we don't need, or Greenland has nothing we need. And that I snapped. Don't you listen to anything at all. Oil, rare earth minerals. We don't need them.
Look, she makes a compelling point in that we really need very little. Like the things that we're chasing now are so, probably superficial, but also just so far beyond what our basic needs are that it's okay to do. However, you should always rest in a state of, we're all in the gravy zone now.
Yeah.
Like I can never even get that upset. If I don't get the additional gravy, I'm still landing in gravy below me.
So much gravy.
And I just need to enjoy the fact that I'm in a gravy bath and I could turn my head and drink some if I wanted to. It's all better from here.
Your cheeseburger is already floating in a skillet of cheese, and you're mad because now more cheese isn't getting dribbled on top of your cheeseburger in its skillet of cheese.
And it's already cut in half too.
Yeah. Best cheeseburger ever.
But you're complaining that there isn't more cheese in the skillet next to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's where we are at.
Well, let's get into some complaining then. Let's get into some frustration with some headlines. First, though, the theme of today's show is adult Tattle-Tales. And we have touched on adult tattling. I went back into the notes and saw we had touched on tattling when Luigi Mangione was caught over a year ago now. We brushed on tattling, adult tattling, but haven't really, I don't think we dug in, and new things have come to light regarding the tattling. So we're going to get to adult tattling.
Interesting subject for me.
But first, how mad were you in your gravy bathtub? Did you have room to feel ire that Jesse Plemons got snubbed for his role in Bugonia? No Oscar nomination for Jesse Plemons.
Okay, I guess I didn't look at that list close enough to form ire, but if I had noticed that, I absolutely would have been upset.
I was PO'd, as they say, as the kids say. I was rage-filled. Bugonia, if you don't remember we probably talked about it. That movie impacted me so directly. I probably spent much time talking on both Noble Rot and The Grit about that movie, right?
Yeah.
You told me to see the movie. You said, don't watch anything. And again, this is Bugonia, the movie. You said, don't watch anything about it. Don't watch the trailer. Don't read about it. Just put it on and watch it. I do believe was your advice. I took that advice and man, was just blown away by the story, blown away by the acting, and really blown away by Jesse Plemons. And I have zero idea how he in that role doesn't get a nom.
Well, so they changed the categories a couple of years ago to where they're not limited to a certain number of people. So it's not as if, oh, there's only 5 spots and he just didn't make the
Yeah.
cut. They could have added him. And by the way, there are only for best actor, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They only included
Yeah.
5 people. Those 5 are Timothy Chalamet for Marty Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio for One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan for Sinners, and then Wagner Mora for The Secret Agent. I've never seen that. So I can't comment on whether Plemons was better or not than any of those guys, but it was the performance of the year that I've seen. It's a total snub, great call. And Emma Stone was nominated.
Yeah, Emma Stone was phenomenal, but Jesse Plemons, I feel, was the diamond of that crown of a film.
Well, the only reason I mention Emma is sometimes films just get ignored by the Academy, and there might be something political involved, but the fact that they acknowledge the lead actress and not the lead actor, I think is surprising, and Plemons, totally agree, even better than Emma Stone in that.
Yeah, boo, boo, Academy voters, boo. Okay, another headline. Have you been following the Beckham family drama?
Trying not to, but I've seen some stuff.
Yeah, we don't even need to get into that here. It's not very interesting. Like, it feels like one of those situations where both sides come out looking not great. And it's not even that salacious or anything, right? So for those who don't know, David Beckham and his wife, Posh Spice, are feuding with their son, Brooklyn, who no longer speaks to him, and they're cut out of the life and blah, 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 blah. Typical, well, I don't know if it's typical, but like whatever family drama. But Brooklyn Beckham's wife, Nicola Peltz, her dad is crazy rich, and it was just revealed today her allowance from her dad. Before we get to her allowance, did you have an allowance growing up?
No, I did not. I earned money by doing chores around the house.
Were you like, I didn't have an allowance either. I would do chores and get some quarters, could go down and play a Street Fighter down at the 7-Eleven or whatever. But no, like on Monday, here's your allowance style. Were you jealous of the kids who had an allowance?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Me too. I thought, what is this? This gig is sweet. You just get your allowance?
Get it for nothing. And it was always, I mean, the reality is it was always, those kids did not develop work ethic. It was like the kids who I felt like got away with murder from their parents, and then they became slackers after the fact.
I wonder, I would like to do a post-mortem on the allowance because I feel it's no longer a thing. I don't know any parents who give their kids an allowance. Do you?
No. I mean, look, my kid won't even know what cash is.
Sure. But when he's of a certain age, are you going to give, okay, Austin, well, you're 6 now, son, and there's things you want to buy, but I'm not going to buy them for you. But here's the deal. I'm going to give you $5 a week and you can save up and buy your things.
I think what I will do is the reason I will do that is to provide financial literacy.
Yeah.
So
like you got to, if you want something, you got to save.
To give him a certain amount of money and with an understanding that he's expected to save some, invest some, and then he has a certain amount that he can just use on whatever. But that's not what was happening when I was a kid. When I was a kid, my friends would get $20 a week and they would end up just going and spending 19 of it on candy right away.
Yeah,
candy
true.
and soda or whatever. And then their parents would still buy them the surplus of anything else that they wanted from that point on. But I personally did not have an allowance. And then I know there was chores that were assigned to a certain dollar amount. So I remember washing a car was $5. So I'm like, okay, if I could wash both cars every week, I can earn $10. And I quickly became entrepreneurial and got to the point where I was asking neighbors to wash their cars, asking neighbors to mow their lawns. And by the age of 12, I got a gig working for a local liquor store who's not legally allowed to employ 12-year-olds. But I had been there, I had been in there enough to where I like had a little comfort familiarity with the owner. And I was like, is there anything I can do to earn money? And he gave me a handful of flyers and said, I need these passed out in the neighborhood. So I went door to door and put flyers on people's doors, you know? And so I think that was just like a 1 or 2 time gig, but I realized I wanted money to spend basically. And so I went out and figured it out.
Did the neighbors that you washed cars for and mowed lawns for, were they aware of the exchange? Did anyone just say, well, thanks for washing my car and mowing my lawn?
No, I think so this is actually now very timely. I definitely explained the price in advance before their commitment.
Smart.
But in the last couple of months, we've started to use a babysitter. Mom and dad get a night out. My wife and I get a night out. Babysitter comes over, sleeps, you know, watches him at our house basically. And there's another couple that we've gone out with a couple of times who introduced us to the babysitter. And so they have a kid too. So we're like, okay, our kids will be together. And then there's a babysitter to watch the kids. The wives negotiated the deal with the babysitter. I find out after the fact, I'm like, what are we paying the babysitter? And they're like, I don't know. We just thought like for the overnighter, they go, we thought about $150 per couple seems right.
Whoa.
And I was like, what do you mean? You just thought that sounds right. You didn't negotiate with the babysitter? And they're like, well, no, we just figured this would make sense. And I'm like, how did the babysitter not ask what she's getting paid? Like, I don't understand how you guys didn't ask what her going rate is. And then I also don't understand how she went into this without any understanding what she's going to earn.
Well, I'll tell you what, oftentimes I've seen like, or I have done personally, done work without negotiating the price and then felt, oh man, getting stiffed on the back end, right? This babysitter came out so much ahead. $300, I feel, is a out of the park grand slam.
For one night. I mean, so then I tried to do the math. I'm like, she's basically making, I don't even know what the math came to now that I think about it, $30 an hour for 2 kids. You know, it was more than 10 hours actually. So it was like $20 an hour for 2 kids. So I'm like, that seems fair. Babysitting going rate, $20 an hour.
I guess so.
For 2 kids too. Like, so I'm like,
seems like a deal.
The math works in the end, but she, to your point, she would have done it for $150 total. She's like a 17-year-old kid, you know? So, but the idea of not negotiating it is really what drove me insane.
I totally understand that, but I guess replaying the scenario, it appears that everyone knew that, because that does sound, when you go hour by hour, 10 hours, right? $20 an hour, that seems like a reasonable deal. It seems like the right price. So did everyone just, it was in the ether. Nobody had to stress it. Everybody knew we're all going to come to the same conclusion together. $300.
That's the difference between the wives negotiating and the husbands negotiating is it all works out in the end.
Yeah.
You know, like there's that way to do it or there's a different way to do it. I would be more meticulous and want to know the numbers. Doesn't make it right or wrong. So in the end, it's all fine. And also what I didn't consider is we know the parents of the babysitter. And so the wives probably had a conversation with their mom, with that babysitter's mom.
Of like, what's the typical?
Maybe figured out a ballpark or something like that, or maybe figured out the hourly, then just did a ballpark in their head. So I'm sure there was a certain amount of math being done. It just wasn't pen on paper. Yeah. But point is, negotiate your terms beforehand is what I say.
Well, especially if you're buddy with Nicola Peltz, Brooklyn Beckham's wife. So what is her monthly allowance from her father, do you imagine?
So I'm going to guess 30 grand a month, which sounds astronomical to me, but I bet that's low.
Okay, it is a little bit low. She gets $1 million a month from her father is her allowance.
$1 million. Wait, say it again.
$1 million a month is her allowance, or monthly allowance. Nicola Peltz, who's married to Brooklyn Beckham, has an allowance. Her allowance is $1 million a month.
What in the world?
And she's also making her own money too, right? It's not like, I mean, dad's rich, but she, I think, is a model and stuff. So she is, it's not like she's sitting at home. She's working. Brooklyn Beckham, I think, is a celebrity chef now or something. So ostensibly he's working, but still, daddy's coughing up 1 mil a month.
Okay, I realize all of these things are relative. However, nobody on the planet needs $1 million a month
I mean, my
in
goodness gracious.
personal expenses. Like maybe if you're running a business or something like that, there's $1 million of expenses. But you as a personal individual, nobody needs $1 million a month.
Nope, it's absolutely silly. And it just made me think, man, that's all I thought. I just thought that is silly. That is silly on multiple levels, whether dad has it or not. I mean, dad clearly has it, but that's fine that he's super rich. But I don't like $1 million a month, man, unless you're putting in like $975,000 of it a month into charity, then it's absurd. I mean, talk about the gravy bathtub, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, that is absolutely absurd.
So
Offensively so.
what I hear you saying is Austin is never going to get, no matter how much the the Surf Splendor cinematic universe makes, no matter if we're just trillionaires someday, young Austin ain't getting $1 million a month.
Definitely not. What is his net? Do you have any idea what his net worth is?
Yeah, it's in the billions. I can't remember what. It's not like he's not like richest man on earth style. It's like it was like 15 billion or something like that.
I mean, ultimately, what that means is he's earning. That is, it's not as if that's cutting into the principle of her
No.
inheritance or anything like that. His burn rate of cash that he's given his daughter or whatever else is less than the interest and dividends he's making
Yes.
off of his net worth, basically.
So I guess all fine and good. Congratulations to you, Nicola Peltz, for doing better than the babysitter.
Incredible.
Our last headline before moving on to our theme. Have you been reading any of the text messages that are now publicly available in the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni lawsuit? So all of the texts, or I think most of the texts are out now. There's Taylor Swift calling Justin Baldoni a bitch and talking about his tiny violin. There's, back and forth. But I read one today from Ryan Reynolds that really stopped me in my tracks. I have a thick skin. You have a thick skin, right?
I think so.
Yeah, like people make fun a lot. People say stuff a lot. None of it, I don't think any of it has really ever affected me, right? It's made me chuckle. I think sometimes I may think, well, ouch, that's rude, but it doesn't actually go in deep. This one from Ryan Reynolds, I thought if somebody called me this, I would really have to go take a long walk around the park, sit on a bench, look at a cloud, and just refine myself, I suppose. Ryan Reynolds called it Justin Baldoni in a text a, quote, human rounding error, which there's something about it that was like worse than just like a curse-filled screed, or worse than scumbag, or worse than, predator or anything. A human rounding error.
I think he had just gotten out of a meeting for some investment that he's involved in, and they were using some financial language, and that just was front of mind, and Justin caught the worst of it.
Yeah, man, that is a real brutal takedown. But yeah, for anyone who is really looking to stick a knife in someone, here you go. It is Ryan Reynolds' gift to you, the human rounding error.
You know where I first learned about rounding errors?
Where? At the restaurant.
Office Space.
Oh, yeah. Such a good movie. Such a good movie.
Where they were just catching the fractions of a cent that were spun off. So have you decided whose side you're on, Lively versus Baldoni?
I mean, it's just so tawdry. We used to talk about this. Like, I was big. I think we even probably led Noble Rod. It was probably one of our very first topics, was the Justin Baldoni Blake Lively drama. And initially I was like, what a douche Justin is. And I still think Justin's a full douche. And I think Blake Blake just wrecked her career, right? It just feels like she's not going to get hired for film anymore. Justin just perpetually seems like a douche. And then in these leaked texts, I don't know if you read them, he looks bad. I mean, there's, I guess, one of their car drivers. I think he and Blake Lively were going to the studio or something. And car driver kept overhearing Baldoni tell Blake Lively that he doesn't, it doesn't matter if a woman gives him permission for a sexual situation, like that people have probably told him no and he's overridden it himself, right? Like that kind of stuff, so much so that when the driver dropped them off at the studio, he held Blake Lively back because he didn't know that Baldoni was producer director on the film, and said, hey, something is really wrong with what he was saying. I would like to do a background check on him. So if you're making the driver uncomfortable, it feels like there is probably a clear worse guy here.
Definitely. I thought a lot of that was just publicity stunt when it first started happening for the film that they were working on together. But yeah, I never cared at the time to look into it. And it feels like it's even grosser and weirder than I anticipated from the get-go.
Yeah. I've lost interest in it. Also, it just, it's like, seems like, oof, definitely a lose for Baldoni, but also seems like a lose for Blake, no matter what really happens.
Well, it seems also like she would have been better not having her personal life exposed, because a lot of bad things have come out about her aside from the dynamic with Baldoni, and the same thing with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
So who knows how much of that is just PR spend from Baldoni's camp, but it definitely seems like none of the three individuals are great human beings, and the worst of what they've done is kind of being revealed to the public now, and so everybody has a distaste for all of them.
Yeah, it's yucky. It's yucky.
It's a lose, lose, lose. Let me ask you this. Do you have a side that you've taken in the Beckham family drama?
No, I haven't. In fact, I mean, I think it's the complete writing off of your parents, right? And then Brooklyn did it publicly as well. He went to Instagram and he said, I want nothing to do with my parents, right? My parents are basically all they care about is the brand Beckham, went on and on and on about what his beef with his folks was. And I just think that's kind of unseemly, right? I think I don't know. I just don't like the real public airing of, I'm not speaking to my parents anymore.
I definitely don't like that. And I think that even if that is the way you feel as the kid, don't publicly air it. And then I also think, though, as they've shown footage of the parents' behavior in public and you hear about the wedding and all that kind of stuff, it's like, okay, they do seem like narcissists. And so the kid is probably traumatized by their narcissism. The one part that's I still question, though, is that David Beckham and Victoria seem to be a united front still. And they've been married for a long time. They've raised kids together, and they're still a united front, which is an anomaly. Normally at that level of profile, and if you are individual narcissists, somebody cheats on somebody, and they publicly air their grievances about one another. The kids start to bring things up. That divides the parents. And the fact that they're still that united front makes me feel like there's actually substance to the marriage. And maybe they're not as bad as I thought.
I mean, there was the Beckham cheating whole stuff, I don't know when it was, 10 years ago maybe. And there was word then that both David and Victoria, brand Beckham is all that matters to them, and so they will keep a united front because that is the brand, right? Like a la, I don't know, JFK and Jackie O, right? Or Jackie Kennedy.
Bill and Hillary.
Bill and Hillary, yeah. Where it's like, we will stay together because it's not about love, it's not about family, it's not about doing what's right. It is because this is our brand, and our brand will not sustain us breaking up.
Well, then, if that is the case, that would be a very, very challenging situation to be raised in as the kid.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it seems like Brooklyn, clearly, I don't think anyone, and I wouldn't think that he's going out half-cocked and without, thinking it through, or selfishly. He may be a little selfish, but I would think he's probably clearly very hurt, right? Like, I don't think you act that way just flippantly. Like, screw you, mom and dad, I'm over you. Like, there was clearly trauma, so I feel bad for the kid, but also gravy bathtub bad.
$1 million a month, man.
From the wife.
I mean,
Well,
that's just the wife's income.
just the wife, just the wife. So good job, Brooklyn. Landed on your feet there. Uh, okay, our theme: adult tattletales. Now, a lot like I suppose the human rounding error, I heard a story this past week that really blew the hair off my forehead. So much so that I had to dedicate an entire show to this. So the story is, and the individuals have to remain nameless due to human resources issues. But so it is a female friend that I have, works for a company, and it's kind of a tough guy company, right? It's like do tough guy stuff company. So female friend was overheard at a party by a male coworker saying something about, something wasn't done yet and he needs to pull his head out of his ass and get it done. That dude overheard that, went to HR, made a formal complaint, and got her busted, or she had to then deal with the formal HR complaint because she said he's got to pull his head out of his ass at a party to somebody else. And I was just thinking, my goodness gracious, I've heard a couple of these. And adult tattletaling never ceases to baffle me. I don't know how one adult tattles something like this, and we're going to get to layers of tattling and when it's appropriate to tattle and all this kind of stuff. But for something like this, how do you wake up in the morning and look at yourself in the mirror after tattling on someone?
I don't know, but let me get this clear. Was he aggrieved about the language used?
Yes, he was aggrieved that she said, quote, he needs to pull his head out of his ass,
Okay.
end quote.
So it wasn't just revealing that his work had not been done to a different coworker.
No, it was
the
this.
language.
It didn't care about that. It was the phrase itself. She said this.
Okay. That person, so now I'm analyzing that person's behavior. The way that they look at themselves in the morning is they made that response, they made that report out of fear of losing their job. So they felt threatened. Obviously, he had not done his work. He's being called out on it. And the only recourse is discredit her. So if I can
Okay.
discredit her because of the language she used, then it'll be a distraction from my bad behavior, basically.
So you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror and you say, "Yep, scared dude, you did the right thing."
He's not acknowledging his fear, but that's what is driving his behavior.
It would you okay? Uh, and the broader theme here of tattling, like I'm going all the way, like so, like both left and right, right? Like during post Jan 6, you had this sedition hunters going in and just finding anyone they could who was in, at, or around the Capitol building so they could tattle on them, right? They would submit their name somewhere, get them fired, and all that. Then we have on the right, Charlie Kirk dies. You have everyone on that side jumping in, finding anyone who dared utter anything publicly that wasn't just glowing about Charlie Kirk and tattle on that person. Go get that person fired, right? JD Vance even saying in a speech, call them out. Hell, call their employer, whatever. So is tattling and adult tattling specifically, is it heightened at this time? Like, is everyone just nonstop tattling on each other?
No, I don't think everybody is. I think there is a certain type of personality that does do it. I don't know if it's heightened now that, because the political extremism that we're experiencing on a day-to-day basis. I'm trying to think of where I would justify it or not. And I think this is the separation of personality types. I would tattletale on somebody who was compromising the whole of society. So as society, we have rules that we've all agreed to abide by. And then if somebody was going so far beyond the bounds of those rules that it compromised the integrity of those rules, I might feel justified in doing that. Let's say it's a drunk driver on the road and they're
Yeah,
clearly swerving,
great.
creating potential,
No problem. So
harm of life.
if somebody's life is in danger,
Potentially, yeah. Or again, just compromises society in such a way that it breaks down society. But if the offense was directly at me, I don't think I'm ever tattletaling.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but I think that's the separation of what we're now seeing is that there are people where it's an affront to me, and so I'm going to bring this to the authority. It's a punitive attack on that person. It's like I got offended for whatever reason, or I think this is an affront to me. But now the extension of that is their offense is an affront to my beliefs and my ideology. And I think that's where they don't separate, societal good over here, operating as a collective. They're misinterpreting like their ideology is great for society. And so now it's an offense to me and my ideology. Now I'm going to point the finger of blame and call them out. But that's not necessarily true.
Have the playground rules of snitches get stitches and all this of, you don't be a tattletale, because if you tattle on somebody in elementary school, right? You can go tattle the teacher and maybe you get them in trouble, but you got heat on the playground afterwards, right? Like nobody thought, "Hey, good job for telling on Tommy." You got is that all gone away? Like, do people praise now tattletales? Is tattletaling a virtue?
I still hear that phrase snitches get stitches all the time. So I don't think that's been abandoned completely. And I don't think that tattletaling has become virtuous either.
I mean,
I,
but
I think
you
there
see
still
those
is a bad
the
rep in
sedition hunters
tattletale.
and the Charlie Kirk getters, right? The Charlie Kirk, bad talker getters. Both those groups were so pleased with their tattletaling. They thought they were doing society a great honor.
They did. Yeah. They did think that, and that's how they could justify it. But they're not realizing that they're operating in rapid winds of change, and so it's like what it looks like the wind's blowing this way right now. And so you think you're doing a good thing, but they misread the whole situation and they didn't realize that they were a minority.
Back to the human resources issue here. I realized when I overheard this story, last time I dealt with a human resources was that I had a human resources department somewhere where I was working was like 20 odd years ago. Do you have any human resources stories? Any experiences with the HR department?
No, not personally.
Yeah.
I never really worked for a corporation or anything.
I was trying to think, dudes. HR, I feel sometimes gets a bad name, right?
Yeah, for sure they do.
I think HR, but I was thinking,
They're the
are
enforcement
HR like
arm of
real
tattle.
heroes?
Are I don't know that I would call them real heroes. I don't even know that they're necessary at a certain level.
I mean, okay, so you have HR has to deal with all the tattlers, right? They have people coming to tattle at them all the time. Uh, what if HR, or I mean, I wonder if some HR employees are like, I'm going to stand in the gap here. I'm going to take all the tattling coming in and I'm not going to push the tattling on. I'm just going to squash every tattle I can, unless it's something like somebody's getting violated.
I would love that stance from a company. And maybe some companies actually do have that stance, but it leaves them with a huge vulnerability legally.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
once
yeah,
once
that's true.
once there's precedent set, some other company who doesn't have that policy and they're much more lenient, and somebody gets fired unjustly, they get sued. Now there's precedent for it, and now you're liable to be held to the same standards as the employer.
Man, I
I
mean,
I
yeah,
think that
HR just on a razor all the time.
absolutely that is their sole role is to diffuse basically. But I think I've worked in small companies, but what I've learned is every employee you add compounds the bull crap that you have to deal with
Yeah.
infighting. And so even if you're the sole owner, you bring one more person on, now a portion of your day is dedicated towards relationship maintenance,
Yeah.
right? So you have a company with 50 employees, that's compounded by 50. And so I think there's tremendous value in just quashing any uprising at that point. Let's say 50 employees and lower. Just be like, hey, shut the F up, get back to work. We are a united front. Like this can't run if you guys are constantly fighting. Shut the hell up,
Yeah.
But once you get to a certain point, factions start to break off, and it just becomes that much more complicated. And we talk about with corporate America, all of the waste in resources. And, I think this is the ultimate department of waste. Like, this entire department only exists to get you to try to act like a normal human being. Like, if you actually owned this company, if you built any company of your own, you would see it entirely differently. And you would see, like, oh God, I don't want to waste their money. Why am I wasting
Yeah.
their money by fighting with my neighbor, my coworker, whatever it is? You wouldn't do it. But it's people don't have that common basic consideration of economics or just the way things run.
And people love to tattle. Like, it just, again,
So
it's that story. It was so shook me. It shook me greatly because I was just thinking, you're not an adult at that point. If you're an adult tattletale, then you're not an adult.
Well, so if you don't maintain the perspective that I just said, like, look, treat the company like it's your own, have some pride, and operate in the company's best interest, not in your own best interest. If you don't have that perspective, then you do feel like it's them versus me, and I need to get mine. And now
Yeah.
my job is threatened because that person said something at a party that was innocuous, by the way. That woman who said the thing, if she's throwing around the curse word at a company thing, she's probably had a drink or two. Like, she's just venting, you know?
Yeah.
But that's a threat to you, and it's them versus me, and I need to protect me. So now I'm going to tattletale on that person. But it's insidious, and it's almost, dare I say, cancerous.
I read as I was preparing for the show, and then I got lost in the weeds and thought, well, this is all nonsense. But it wasn't really nonsense. It was a psychologist talking about like the 5 different kinds of lies or something, or I'm sorry, not lies, of tattletales, why people tattle, right? And so much of it was like pure self-preservation. It was about, obviously getting somebody in trouble, and so you're not in trouble. And just thinking, man, thinking about everything around you as a zero-sum game. Like, I've got to step on somebody in order to maintain my position or get ahead. Just seems like, I guess that's what they do. I guess a tattletale wakes up in the morning and says, still on the rung. God, I'm going to climb higher today. Tattling on you today.
What I would be curious, I mean, maybe I've tattletaled. I would have to really think about it. But what I would be curious to see is if it ever benefits the tattletaler. Because from my perspective, it does not. From my experiences where there was either somebody on the playground who did it, they became a pariah. Nobody wanted to be friends with them or certainly didn't trust them. And when I see it on a major level, Julian Assange gets jailed,
Yeah.
like the corporate whistle, or he's not jailed. I guess he's in exile, but the corporate whistleblowers absolutely get vilified and
Good one.
often, yeah, jailed or whatever.
Okay. Are whistleblowers tattletales?
You could definitely technically call them a tattletale. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, technically they're tattling, but I would argue, I suppose, that 9 times out of 10, the whistleblower is averting the drunk driver, or is like
No, I
what they're
think you're
blowing whistle on is serious and egregious lapses that damage civilization.
totally agree. And the best known examples, they make movies out of,
Yes.
The Insider or Aaron Brockovich or whatever. And so in each of those cases, those are heroic tattletales.
I wonder if
They
there's
all tattletaling.
they are tattletaling, but there is. I'm so glad you brought this up because there is heroic tattletales.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I suppose anybody who tells, like, if somebody is planning a school shooting and gets stopped because somebody was vigilant enough and tattled, that person's a hero too.
Absolutely. Yes. Saving lives. Like I was listening to 48 Hours podcast yesterday while I was cooking. And it was a story about a woman who is trying to hire a hitman to kill her husband. And so,
Nice. Do
yeah,
you know how much it costs? By the way,
it's cheap.
yeah. Did we talk about this on the show?
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy cheap.
Yeah. Were we talking about the one where it was somewhere in Asia and the guy who they hired, they paid like $250,000 to, he hired somebody else for 125 so that he didn't have to do it and it would create distance. And the 125 guy hired somebody for 75 to do it. And it just trickled down to like the bottom guy was getting like 10 grand to do it.
Amazing.
Yeah. But I think, don't quote me on this. I have no experience. I think you get what you pay for when it comes to a hit.
Except the problem is though, somebody paid for a $250,000 hitman. They did not. They got a $10,000 hitman for that price. So you'd really have to have proof of I'm giving you the money, you are doing the job, kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm not mapping it that far even. I was just reading the headlines. I'm not trying to out design my own version. But the 48 Hours podcast I was listening to, the woman spoke to the man she was having an affair with and asked him to kill her husband for her. And he was so appalled that he got her to restate it in a later conversation, recorded it, brought the recording to the police, to the authorities and all that sort of thing. And that was like fully justifiable, heroic tattletaling.
Save the ex-husband.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Plausibly.
So there are versions that are totally justifiable, but I still think they fall under the header of tattletale.
Yeah, no, but like I'm glad we had this conversation today because I was so worked up about this HR story and adults tattling, and I just kept getting myself more and more worked up. What's happening in society? You know, we have many problems. Peak problem, I'm going to say, adult tattletaling, and I was just. But now, talking to you, there's hero tattletales as well.
So again, I think the distinction I might have landed on right at the beginning, which is it for me or is it for
Others.
somebody else?
Yeah, that's it. You hit the nail on the head. Tattling for the benefit of somebody else and to save somebody else or a group is heroic.
It's an altruistic revealing of truth to protect others.
Yes.
If
Because it stinks to tattle. I don't want to tattle. Even being a hero tattletale, I would feel sad inside. I'd be like, yeah, you guys see me as a hero, but I know I'm a tattletale.
The protecting your own personal interests is probably the worst, but there's also a version that I think is a degree worse, which is like it's not even encroaching on your actual life or physicality. You're doing it because you're tattling on them because they're breaking a rule that you wouldn't break on your own. Like if you peek over your neighbor's backyard and they're building a structure on their property that they don't have a permit for, and you call the city, or they're trimming a tree. I've seen that even, it's like call the city, get the city involved because you're trimming a tree or you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing. And then the authorities show up at your neighbor's house. That is bull crap.
Have you ever done that, David Lee Scales?
No.
Would you ever do that?
Dude, I don't even want to look up the number for the city in the first, like the idea of calling the city and trying to get somebody on the phone to like talk to, already I'm out.
Tattle-tailing. When was the last time you tattled a tale?
I don't know. I'd really have to analyze. I mean, I don't do it, so it's been forever probably.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the last time I told.
So let me put you on the spot here because the first thing I thought of in terms of moral quandary, because I've been in this scenario, is if you find out one of your friend adult couples, one of them is having an affair. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you have this information, the spouse does not know. How do you keep that a secret, or how do you share the information, if at all?
It would depend for me 100% on the closeness of my relationship with the person being cheated on. If I'm close with them, I'm telling them. Like,
your alliance is to your best friend, basically,
yes.
in that scenario.
Yeah. And I think I don't know how, if the cheating is happening, I don't know how not knowing about it, unless I suppose if I was reading the room and thinking, hey, this person's happy, this person's blissfully ignorant, but that wouldn't be it would be tough. I'm sorry. If David Lee Scales, if I knew Lauren was cheating on you, if I saw her out in Cardiff by the Sea at the office on the arm of another podcaster, I would feel my duty would be to tell you.
Well, thank you for that. But what if you knew I was cheating? Would you then
Oh,
tell
would I tell
Lauren
Lauren? No.
because your alliance is still to the primary relationship?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all it is. If it's just whatever the alliance is, I would feel real bad though. I would feel real bad, and I would tell you to tell Lauren. I would try
Yeah.
to,
Okay, that
I
makes
would
sense.
try to insinuate as much like I'm not going to tell her, but somebody is going to tell her, and you should tell her.
That feels like a healthy way to address it.
Yeah, I mean, if so, yeah. But man, it's true. It's pretty rude. It's pretty rude that Tattletale is based straight on personal alliance, not on the morality or immorality of what's being done.
I know, but I can see why that is your default. And I think that would be similar to my default too. The reason would be you personally take umbrage with my behavior morally. You're thinking David's doing a bad thing morally, but I also respect David's decision making. So I'm going to try to hold a mirror to him to have a conversation with him. Because if I then volley back to you, like, here are the reasons X, Y, and Z, then you have more information and you could feel less bad about holding that information. You know what I mean? Like, there's a negotiation that would then be happening between the primary people in that kind of
Yes.
dynamic. I don't mind sharing this story because nobody's going to
You don't
listen.
mind telling?
None of the people would be listening who might be implicated in it, and I'll leave names anonymous. But in our larger friend group, but we get together at various social functions. There's a married couple and there's a one single dude, and the married couple seems to have had their issues and don't seem to be in like the best place in their marriage, and the wife I've seen has been awfully flirty with the single dude. And then it's gotten to the point where I see them actually touching each other. Like, not
Yeah.
sexually, but like definitely
Enough.
definitely more caressing than she's doing to me or than I would even allow. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yes.
more than friendly. And so then the gossip starts where I'm like, the next morning I'm like asking my other buddy who's friends with him, the single dude, I'm like, dude, what the hell's going on? Like, have you talked to him about it? What's happening? And I don't know the married couple well enough to even get involved. Like, I'm not going to have the conversation with the wife for sure. And I'm not going to have the conversation with the husband because definitely not my place. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not a tattletaler. There's that.
Yeah.
But what I don't appreciate is it puts burden on me and everybody else who witnesses it. It's like, I'm almost thinking to myself, you guys, I really don't care if you're having an affair and I'm seeing like little signs of it, or if there's an affair coming and you're working towards it. All I know is don't make me involved.
I don't want to see it. Full stop.
I don't want to see it. I don't want to know. I don't want to think about it. Like, it was a great night up until I had to think about this. And then I'm waking up, I'm talking to my wife about it. We're gossiping. Like, I don't want to know any of it. Have the courtesy to do it in private.
Great PSA at the end. Don't force other people to even have to think about being tattletales, especially when it comes to affairs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's not fair.
Handle your business. Handle your business behind the closed doors as they're supposed to be.
I remember Billy Graham talking about I don't even know what the context was, but it was like leaving money out. If you're in a hotel room, leaving valuables out on the counter, like, don't do it. And the person was like, "Oh, you just think like the housekeepers are going to steal your stuff?" He's like, "Nope, don't think that at all. I remove the temptation. My thought is I just want to remove the temptation from anybody who's just going about their business and don't even want to give them the chance to even think through the thought process, you know?"
Billy Graham is a saint.
I know. I was like, that's kind of like that could be applied to a lot of things in life.
Yep. Wise. Looking out. Back to I guess, your original contention, too. Doing things for others, not for yourself. It's not like Billy Graham is doing it to protect his stuff. He's doing it to remove the temptation from others.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now,
Great.
let me go through a couple of potential tattletale situations. If you see the drunk driver on the road, do you go through the effort of tattletaling?
No, and that's a bummer. I should, right? Like, I mean, I guess if I'm following for a long time, man, it was so wild, wild stuff, David Lee Scales. Driving home from the Beachside Tavern, in New Smyrna Beach after our very successful live podcast with Luke Cederman and John Philbin. Literally every car, it was like, what time did we leave? One, two, two,
I
one,
left before
one.
you, but yeah, I think you guys left around 2.
Yeah. Every car on the freeway was so swervy. Like going so slow also, right? Like very clearly being careful drunk drivers. Like nobody's speeding. Just whoop, 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 whoop. And I thought, wow. In that case, I thought everyone's drunk on the road, not going to call. I guess if I was on the freeway and it was midday and I saw somebody, yeah, it's a bummer. It'd be hard for me to go to the effort of calling. I don't even know do you call 911?
Yeah, you would call 911. I think it is funny just to note how much more lax Florida's policies are on this than California's.
Yeah.
But the problem is you are now making the decision of whether they're drunk or not. So they could
Yes.
just be in front of you texting and they swerved once or twice because they were texting. But if you were on the 5 freeway for a long enough span of time
And
and
I know.
you saw them like drifting and then 3 lanes almost in the ditch, then they
Yes.
correct hard, come back and then
Yeah.
drift again,
911.
that's a 911 call for
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
It
Good
just has to
tattle.
be super obvious.
Super obvious. What's your second tattling scenario?
What if you're in your school environment? I was thinking this might work better at a public school, but let's just say in your school environment, your daughter finds out that her friend was being abused at home, and she then relays this information to you.
Yeah. Would I be mad at her for tattletaling?
Would you take it upon yourself to get involved?
Yeah, for sure get involved. I don't know that I would go to the authorities directly, but I would either do some fact finding or ask directly or some, depending on, the variables. I would definitely get involved there. I wouldn't say, well, that is none of our business, is it?
Yeah. Again, you're protecting somebody else in this scenario,
Yeah,
so it's a justifiable tattle.
especially a kid.
Absolutely. Yeah, a kid who's defenseless,
Yeah.
or maybe resourceless. So I'm trying to think what would be a good one to test our abilities on if it was a personal affront.
I mean, that's what, okay, so if if somebody you knew or didn't know or whatever socked you right in the nose, uh, in public, boom, laid out, have to go to the hospital. Do you press charges?
I think I would, in light of protecting society from this psychopath.
Okay,
Like,
that's how you justify it.
I mean, if it was as random as you just said, absolutely.
What if it's somebody you are acquaintances with? Let's say uh, somebody you know less than John Brooks or like less than John Brooks in that level. You guys, he got drunk, socked you in the nose so hard, busted. You had to go to the hospital. Police had to show up. They say, "Hey, do you want to press charges?" What do you say?
If it was a infraction on my part, like if there's some sort of relationship dynamic here that instigated this fight, then no. And I'm responsible for myself and defending myself. I would take a certain amount of ownership in this and not press charges. If it was a random act, then I would definitely press charges. Like I'm an innocent bystander. This person came out of nowhere and punched me, or came out of nowhere, aggressively as an agitator and victimized me in that scenario. Then I feel like you have an obligation to society to protect against this psychopath.
Okay. So, wow, benevolent all the way. There's nothing that's going to happen to you personally
I
that
mean,
you're
look,
going to tattle them.
again, if I got into a fight with somebody and then lost the fight, I wouldn't press charges
For
on
sure.
that. Yeah.
Would you tattle on your neighbor if your neighbor was not only building unpermitted structures, but was building an unpermitted structure too near the property line? Not over the property line, but you knew for a fact, you have to have the setback of whatever it is, and they were right up against the fence with their illegal structure.
No,
Really?
I wouldn't. I
I'd probably
wouldn't.
tattle on that.
Really?
I probably tattle on property line stuff because I feel that's a slippery slope. I had lived in LA, had a big piece of property, weird hill piece of property, and up top somebody had like poured a slab or something, but it was near the neighbor's house up there, and I rarely went up there. The neighbor was like, "Hey, can we use this place?" And I said, "Yeah, I think we came to some kind of agreement." A year later, I think they said this is ours now because we've been using it, and I was like,
Oh
"No,
my
I let
gosh.
you use it." So it's that kind of I'm maybe gun shy on property line issues that can get sticky if you don't, good fences make good neighbors kind of thing.
There's a whole different wing of potential tattletale conversation that we could have, which is kind of related to Baldoni and Lively. They, maybe it's not tattletaling, they're putting preemptive measures against one another and even PR campaigns to
No, it's
badmouth another. So
it's like
that's
tattletaling at the next level. It's like professional grade tattletaling what they're doing.
that's where my brain doesn't operate in, but I admire almost the strategy involved. And definitely this happens in the political arena all the time. But it's like rather than it's just more subversive. It's like rather than going out and pointing the finger directly and saying this person is doing this bad behavior, because you do catch flack just for being the tattletale.
Yeah.
Instead, we're going to do this subversive revealing of their bad ways, either through planning press stories or whatever, getting somebody else to speak out on it. That is,
Diabolical.
I mean, it's admirable to me to a certain degree. Like, wow, that
Wow.
is devious, but it's also so well planned and shrouded that it's like it becomes truth almost.
You might be a politician yet, David Lee Scales. There's hope for your political career, I think. If you can really harness that, I think you'd be well on your way.
It's my brain does not operate that way. I just stand in an admiration to a degree.
Well, good conversation on tattling. Hoping if anybody's driving right now to the HR office to tattle on a fellow employee for some perceived slight, that they decide not to do that today. Also, I hope if somebody's driving and sees a wild drunk driver in front of them, put the podcast on pause, call 911, tattle for society.
That's the only recourse. If you're in a lowly job and you have no power, it really feels like your only resource. But let me tell you, even HR is questioning your character at that point when you come in
Absolutely.
to complain that somebody ate your sandwich out of the fridge.
Absolutely. Don't do it. Save yourself.
Yeah.
Well, getting to the end of the show here. What did you watch this week? David Lee Scales.
Well, remember, there's been a couple of movies that critics have panned, and then I'm like, no, you got to watch Joker Folie à Deux. It's better than the
Yeah,
critics
Joker Folie à
realize.
Deux, so good, cannot be spoken of highly enough.
Did you ever see Babylon?
Yes, and I loved the whole start, and then hated the back half. But I thought that the fight scene alone that they're doing is one of the greatest moments of, I'm not going to say ever, but it is so funny, that whole scene.
Okay. I
But I didn't think it held. Maybe I should watch it again.
maybe you should. It's a long movie. I think it's
Yeah.
nearing 3 hours, so that could be part of the problem. I have to analyze more what you're saying. I don't remember the movie that fully. I watched it once the first time, thought it was fantastic. Thought it was like a spectacle, but also masterful. And then it just got added to Netflix again a week or two ago. And so I've watched, but I've only made it like the first half of the way through. But
Yeah,
as
but the
I've
good
made
half.
it, yeah. So as I made it the first half through, I'm like, this is so much better than anybody gave it credit for.
Masterpiece.
Yeah. So I'll get through the second half and then kind of consider what you said.
I think it's the Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt character. It's Brad Pitt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt interplay relation. It just really falls apart. It becomes like fake and uninteresting, where like it feels like he lost the plot from, I don't know, early. I can't remember, but yeah, I'm excited for you to report back.
Okay, I will. The other thing that this made me think about, because Brad Pitt is great in it and he's great in that role. The other thing it made me think about, and I looked it up and rewatched it, was his appearance on Jackass in 2002.
Wow. That
Did you
is
ever see this?
totally forgotten. What did he do on Jackass?
So the funny thing was, they didn't advertise. It wasn't like coming up in 2 months, Brad Pitt's going to be on Jackass. They didn't advertise at all. There was no hype in advance. It's just you start watching Jackass, they give you the title like they always do at the beginning of the scene, and the title was The Abduction, and then one of the Jackass crew comes on camera, and they're like, "This is the abduction," and then they go into the prank that they're doing. So the abduction was Brad Pitt standing at Pink's hot dog stand in Hollywood in line at night. And there's people in line who start to notice. They're like, oh, I think that's Brad Pitt standing behind me, you know? And the camera's like hidden off to the side, just surveying. And a black van pulls up and they go, yo, Brad Pitt. And the sliding door opens and masked men jump out of the van, grab Brad Pitt and throw him in the van and abduct him.
Amazing.
And they peel out with the door still open, peeling out. And everybody in line is like, oh my God. They get on 911. Brad Pitt just got abducted. Brad Pitt just got abducted. And then the Jackass music starts and they go into the intro. Yeah. And then the next skit, this is Night Monkey. And it's Chris Pontius, I think Steve-O, and the third monkey is Brad Pitt. They're all wearing monkey gorilla costumes, running amok through town at night. Like, you know, the Santa Monica Promenade, 3rd Street Promenade or whatever. They're like running through, jumping in trees, trying to swing at the trees. The branch breaks, they eat crap. Get a monkey in a shopping cart in a parking lot of a grocery store, run the shopping cart as hard as you can. None of the bystanders knowing it's Brad Pitt in the monkey costume, you know? But like he'll eat crap in the shopping cart and the mask falls off and it's freaking Brad Pitt.
I love that Brad Pitt, he must have been such a fan of the show that he was just like, guys, I got to be part of the crew.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it too.
And it was a simpler time where no headline was even made. It wasn't like the next day in the Hollywood Reporter, they're reporting on Brad Pitt run amok, like, or even gallivanting around with these no-name, you know, whatevers. So I love, it made me like Brad Pitt, despite his family life that's developed in the last decade or two since. It made me like him a little bit more.
Despite beating all his adopted children on a plane.
Beating?
I don't know. I think that's what they said.
Abusing.
One of them said that. Abusing.
I'm not making excuses for that, but I like that he participated in this.
Great job, Brad Pitt. I'm just going to go quickly. I've been watching Industry. Have you watched Industry yet?
No, but I want to. I heard it's good.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll leave it there. It's a show, and I feel maybe this is happening more and more. Maybe it's the Euphoria effect, where they're trying to be so kinky, kind of, that it just becomes unnecessary and entirely gets in the way, as far as I'm concerned. Like, it's just like, okay, now we're having a long three-way scene, right? That's not advancing the plot. It's purely for graphicness. And yeah, I just feel the euphorification, I feel, is something, right? When we're just going to go way tawdrier than you thought we could go.
Man, you sound like an old man.
I know. Not here for it. Don't like it.
You're gravitating towards Hallmark movies and the Great British Bake Off.
Give me some. I mean, that's what it is. I'm watching British Bake Off, and yeah, basically that. Okay, getting into our heroes and zeros to end out. Do you have any today?
I do. I'll go 0. By the way, did we get to the bottom of Stephen King movies and books, good or bad?
Yes, we did. And the feedback, I don't know, did you get feedback?
A little bit, but I didn't
I got
come to a
feedback.
conclusion yet.
I got feedback that was, you're right, multiple times. Not one person said, hold on. And I had a couple long DMs, I feel, of people really explaining why it's all bad. But
Okay.
yeah, I think we concluded that Stephen King has very little talent.
Concluded the good ones are great, and there's 5 of them, and the 32 others, complete dog crap.
Not worth laying an eye on.
Okay, my 0 this week, United Healthcare. caught paying off nursing homes to let seniors die because hospital transfers were too expensive.
You would think after the CEO of United Healthcare got murdered by the aforementioned Luigi Mangione, that you might want to look at practices and maybe try to get a better PR spin going here.
We've all, had some experience of, or some bad experience with health insurance, whether it is just paying your premium, never using it, and then the premium constantly goes up, or trying to use it and them not covering whatever it is. But we speak in general terms with most of these things. The fact that it's their bad behaviors and profit driven behaviors are this egregious. And I'll go a little bit deeper into explaining it. Reports, including one based on international documents and whistleblowers, allege that United Healthcare offered financial incentives to nursing homes for low hospital admission rates, potentially leading to harm and death for patients denied necessary hospital care. U.S. Senators Elizabeth Warren and Ron Wyden have initiated an inquiry into these practices, and in early 2026 accused United Health of providing inadequate responses to their inquiries. United Health denies these claims, of course, stating its programs improve outcomes and reduce unnecessary hospitalizations, and has filed a defamation lawsuit against The Guardian for its reporting on this. The company also claims the DOJ previously reviewed similar cases without pursuing charges. Several lawsuits are pending, but no court has ruled that they've actually caused intentional deaths.
I know that the health insurance industry is, just fills politicians' coffers with so much filthy lucre that nothing is ever going to happen. But talk about something that would unite the nation. If a Democrat or Republican, or a Democrat and a Republican, came together and said, we're actually going to go after, we're going to break these things down. We fully know that the insurance is rotten, that it's not working. We're going to actually make this work. We're going to make insurance work. They're not going to be, maybe they'll have to be nonprofit at this point. Maybe you can't make, be publicly traded. And, what is United Healthcare? What revenue do they generate? It's insane that these healthcare businesses are wild income generators.
And no longer in the business of health care.
No, in the business of making money. Yes. How can we make money? We can kill old people.
Yeah. Your name is healthcare and you are not providing healthcare.
No. Boo on you. Big good zero.
Absolutely. Been a zero for a long time for a lot of reasons, but this is absolutely the worst. Somebody at the end of their life in a nursing home, and you're paying the nursing home to not send them to the hospital to get the advanced care.
Thumbs down, United. I'm bringing an old classic zero back. We got Justin Baldoni, and poor guy's already gotten kicked when he's down by being called a human accounting error. But he just went, man, if you're going surfing somewhere and you see paparazzi and you want to go surfing, but there's paparazzi and you're a goober, don't go surfing that day. Just go swimming. It's fine. You're not going to do anything on that board anyway. So Justin Baldoni goes, it's just the worst combination that you could possibly imagine. It is an egg, and a Tough Light egg with a GoPro mount on the nose. No GoPro, just the GoPro mount on the nose. And he is wearing one of those helmet baseball hats, right? Like the surf hats with protection in it, in Costa Rica on his crappy board. And you just can't make a thing look worse than Justin Baldoni makes surfing look.
If Marjorie Taylor Greene looks cooler than you do when she goes surfing, you better check yourself.
You better just stop, right? Like, you are embarrassing yourself and you're really tarnishing surfing. Surfing doesn't need this. Surfing's down too, Justin Baldoni. Surfing has seen better days. John Florence taking another year off tour. Surfing is in a tough time. You don't need to go kick it anymore.
Don't want you.
Zero. Well, let's end on a high note. Who's your hero?
The Onion. The
Hit me.
Onion satirical news publication, for so long, for just being so quick, for being so precisely spot on in their humor, also for deftly navigating political topics without ever really revealing their own personal agenda. It's kind of an equal opportunity offender, with the common denominator of just calling out absurdity and hypocrisy of any decision being made.
You would think that in this day and age, when everything is so crazy already, that the last thing we would need is satire. But turns out that's the biggest thing we need.
Absolutely. And so I've long been a fan, but I've just realized recently it's like so any political anything is so divisive and sparks such kind of intensity. And then I get to the Onion and there's a picture of Christy Nome and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be something salacious. And then I read the joke they make about her and it's just so freaking funny.
Yeah, funny.
Or about Biden, or about, it doesn't matter what side it is. It's just so precisely funny that you laugh. For the first time in a long time, you laugh.
Stand and applaud, Onion. Well done. Keep it up.
Incredible. And then also, it's obviously not all political. So I just scrolled their Instagram before recording just to see like what else are they making jokes about. Shows a picture of a dude sitting in a booth at a restaurant with a waitress standing, and he's looking up at her, and the headline reads, "Man forced to come up with 45 seconds of facial expressions while waitress lists off specials." And it's like simple, relatable, very funny. You look at them and you just keep nodding and you squint your eyes. You're like, ooh, yeah, that sounds kind of good. Not going to order any of this. Already had my eyes set on a burger cut in half.
In cheese. Well, good job, Onion. Thank you. My hero, and not to make it overtly political, I am sorry if I'm going to offend somebody's sensibilities. This is not meant to be political, but my hero is Ilhan Omar, the lightning rod leftist congresswoman. And she's not a hero for politics. I'm not jumping in there either way. But did you see her get sprayed? She was speaking at something in Minnesota. Somebody came up and sprayed her with a syringe full of an unknown liquid, right?
Super, super scary.
Super sketchy. I mean, that would be worse than, I would obviously rather get punched in the face, rather get, hit with a rubber bullet, almost anything than unknown substance. Like the terror of waiting for them to test that thing, thinking, was this anthrax? Was this who knows what it is, right? Scary stuff. But if I got scared or smacked or syringed with an unknown substance, I think my reaction would be to turn and run or something. I don't know what. But Ilhan Omar's reaction was to chase the guy down. Like she got her fist up and went like right away in like split second of just not like thinking about what I'm going to do. What is this stuff? It was just like, guy sprayed it. She wants to fight him. And I'm like, wow, good instinct.
That was my response too, is like, that shows where she was raised, by the way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Going
like
for a fight straight away. You got sprayed with potential poison. You're gonna fight.
It reveals not the exact neighborhood you were raised in, but a certain way of being raised for sure. So, also impressed by her response. We do have to get to the bottom though of that financial situation that I brought up a couple of weeks ago about in the zero section.
The Somali daycares?
No, her husband was implicated.
Oh yeah.
This fraudster investment scheme, and like their net worth was negligible 5 years ago, and now it's like $29 million, and the funds are missing from the scheme from the investment fund that he set up. But
we're going to go get into that next show. We're going to go do some real detective work, do something that the Onion is going to help us with.
No, but I saw that too, and I was thinking, don't they have more security in place? Like anybody at the town hall meeting could just approach.
Well, you'd think with her too. She's already lightning rod. Everything is super crazy hot in Minnesota already, and you would think that. But yeah, who knows?
Who knows?
Wild
We'll keep our eyes
on
it.
If anyone would like, if they're listening to this episode and wants to know how it looks, you can head on over to YouTube. These are all going up on YouTube now. It's at Noble Rot Pod. Go subscribe and go watch David Lee and I talk about what you just heard us talk about.
The comment section, too, is a great place to engage with other listeners and continue the conversation that we started here.
Fun times. Do you have anything else to add before we sign off?
Nada.
Well, then, until next week.